Now we're going to begin talking about the real numbers for your math boot camp. You had 3 questions on your pre-assessment talking about the real numbers, and really this is just something that you have to memorize. You can practice, and that generally helps build those memory connections in your brain. So let's go ahead and take a look at the questions that you had on your pre-assessment, then you can practice on your own. First question that you had said, the result after simplifying the expression, the square root of 10 plus 4 squared, is categorized as what type of number? So we look at, first thing we need to do is follow the order of operations underneath the radical symbol. That's the square root symbol. So we'll say the square root of 10 plus 16, and then the square root of 26. Once you put in the square root of 26 into your calculator, you're going to get an irrational number. It's 5.099, and you should see this on your calculator as well, and it continues on, but it has no pattern. There's no repeating, and it does not terminate. The only thing it can be is irrational. The next question that you had was looking at these sets of numbers that are within the brackets and identifying which entire set belongs to rational numbers of the real number system. So if it says rational numbers, that means if there's an irrational number in the set, then it cannot be rational. So just looking at this type of question, what I would automatically do is start slashing the trash. By now, you should know that pi, the symbol pi, is an irrational number. So I can say D is trash that I can slash. Also, looking up, I'm looking at the square root of 64, but I'm going to come back to that one because that's kind of a familiar one that I think I can look at a little bit more closely. But when I see the square root of 7, I put that in my calculator, and I see that it's 2.645, and it continues on and on. Again, that's irrational. That's trash that I can slash. Now I'm left with the choices of A and C. Well, when I look at A, I see 3 to the 4th power, and I know that 3 to the 4th power is going to be a rational number. It's just taking the regular natural number and putting it to the 4th power, and 20. So these are both rational. I'm looking though at 3.01001, and so far I see a pattern, but it goes dot, dot, dot. We have to remember our definition of rational numbers is it's either a repeating number or one that terminates. That means it comes to an end. We can look at 3.01001 dot, dot, dot and probably predict what the pattern is going to be, but that's not a repeating pattern. So this is an irrational number. So A is trash that I can slash. Now when I put the square root of 64 into my calculator, I see that it's 8, and negative 8 is going to be a rational number. 12, we should know by now, is a rational number. 7.5 is a terminating decimal, a decimal that comes to an end. That's rational. And, of course, 0. So the correct answer would be C. Finally, the following diagram represents sets in the real number system. Which classifications of the real number system could be represented by A and B? So there could be more than one answer here. And remember, you have to get them all right or it's going to be all wrong. So looking at my choices that I have here, if I remember irrational numbers don't contain any set of the real number system. So I'm going to cross out the first one. I'm going to cross out the second one going down, because I know that irrational numbers don't contain any set. That's kind of like those ugly decimals that we set off to the side. And I also can look at rational and irrational, and rational numbers don't contain irrational numbers. Again, irrational numbers are off to the side. So that's trash that I can slash as well. Now I want to look at my three choices that I have left. Now, some of us might remember the saying that we learned to figure out the real number system. And it's something about Nemo, natural numbers, works, whole numbers, N, integers, road, rational numbers, and then the island off to itself, are irrational numbers. Okay, that's kind of a way that we can remember how this is set up. So I can use this setup to help me decide which ones of these are correct. A contains B. Looking at this, everything that A is contains what B is. So if A is a bigger circle than B, we would look at our graph here, and we would look for the bigger circle that contains the smaller circle. Whole numbers contain natural numbers. That would be correct. Rational numbers, do they contain natural numbers? Rational numbers, do they contain natural numbers? Absolutely. Integers, do they contain whole numbers? Absolutely. So you have three correct choices. What I'd like you to do now is to go ahead and answer these questions about the real number system. Good luck, and let the teacher know when you're done.